picture. Welcome to the big picture. I'm not scared. Welcome. Hey everyone, wherever you're joining us from, whether it's morning, afternoon, or evening, welcome to the big picture with Uncensored. I'm your host. I'm your lead co-host today, Justin Wanda, and with me in studio is
Tom Mukwana, her co-host.
I hope mmepan to Tom this time.
Yeah,
Msieke blank screen tafadhali. And today we have a very special guest with us, Rachel Mwikali. Karibu Rachel to the show.
Asante Justin na Tom.
Kidogo wacha nipeane accolades kwanza kabla tuanze show.
You have to read that.
Wacha tusome
Nigerians, you give the title.
Yes, wacha tusome accolades kwanza. Rachel Mwikali is a human rights advocate, a gender justice expert, community organizer, and a Pan-African feminist who has literally worked on a lot of transformative work in gender justice. Tuko na Avenger kwa studio leo. Like her work is really impeccable. I've met Rachel on separate occasions and like every time she just blows me away. So karibu sana to the show again. Thank you. Today's show we are focusing on the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And the highlight for the 2025 theme is ending digital violence against women and girls, especially technologically facilitated abuse. I hope I have gotten that right because you're technologically facilitated. But before we get into the topics of the day, Uncensored is celebrating 10 years of being around. Sherehe na makofi kwa Uncensored. Tom, you should do the honors kwa sababu wewe ndio.
Nah, but yeah, 10 years since Uncensored. Well, from the founder himself, the co-founder himself, he says it's not exactly 10 years. Like it existed kidogo, but it formally existed vizuri 10 years ago. And he says this was the first Monday. So it's like 500 and something Monday, number 523
Mondays.
Yeah, 523 Mondays later.
Yeah.
So I think he's best placed to tell the story of Uncensored. But I think one of the best things he said in that was that he was interrogating what's the value, what does that mean to him as a founder? And one of the things that he stumbled upon, just like I think it was a comment from a lecturer at Stanford, right? Yes. That it's dignity, that throughout all his presentations and assignments, dignity shines through.
Yes.
And that's what he feels is what he presents.
So dignity is the tether to Uncensored as an institution.
Yes, it's the core product, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I might be saying it all wrong because he knows best. Me, I just read the article like you guys.
I just want John Allen to know, like, we butchered it on purpose so that he can, like, literally
over and
write
over
it.
again.
But, like, 523 Mondays of Uncensored being around. Why Dignity is Our True North is an article that has been published on his Medium. So check it out, read it. There's also, like, a 10-question survey at the end. Participate, include what dignity and value means to you in investigative journalism. Umsaidie yo, I think, research yake on what true journalism is. And if kama nakosea pia, you should let him know.
I actually think he's sneaking in a bit of his term work. Sindio, he's sneaking it a bit up on your survey. But anyway, just take the survey.
Of course, lazima uze Sarah. And this is like a really, it's an impeccable achievement to have any institution for any amount of time, let alone 10 years. Yes. So this is really, really cool. So make sure you check out 523 Mondays later, Why Dignity is Our True North on Jonathan Namu's Medium page. The article has been shared on Uncensored page too.
Yes.
So you can get the link
and
there.
And WhatsApp channel is it?
Yes, and the WhatsApp channel for Uncensored. So we'll get right into our topic of the day, which is 16 days of activism. And before we go any further, I just want Mwikali to contextualize it for us what 16 days of activism means. Kwa sababu inanipiga chenga hapo kidogo. We know it started in 1991. And what does it mean? What are the origins? And how has that work continued to show up today? And for the people who are participating and wanting to contribute to the work that's being done, how do they show up? what does it mean? Ama ni kuweka hashtag 16 days of activism, and like, what does that mean? Yeah.
Thank you, Justina, Tom, and also Uncensored, and congratulations. 10 years is not a joke. With the kind of work you're doing, which is very intense, even some of the work focusing on social justice, feminism and human rights in its own intersectionality, we celebrate all of you. We know it's not easy. So,
I guess.
so now when you come back to 16 days, apart from the theoretical point of view, 1991, its own coming to life. But if you look in terms of human rights, we know gender-based violence is a human rights issue. And we know also the history of human rights in terms of the UN Universal Declaration, that a lot of gender inequality has been in existence. And the fact this one was focused on women is also like to put in that face and that visibility that we can't be living and talking about other human rights issues and not focusing different manifestation of oppression and violence that are affecting women, girls, and also gender-conforming people. Because most of the time when you talk about violence, usually focus, it's only from an heterosexual perspective and not looking also from, let's say, LGBTQ persons or even girls themselves. They go through this in our own diversity. And if you look in terms of the work, much has been done, and I respect all the women and the people, also including men, gender-diverse people, who have come in to put in and to ensure that this work is done. However, from our own perspective, also from our own movement, is that even personally, I don't see 16 days as November 25th of November to 10th of December. For me, I believe 16 days of activism is on a daily basis. Violence towards women, girls, it does not pause to wait until November to December. It is usually on existence, and you've seen also through your work that you've been doing also with some of us, even in the capacity of End Femicide, where I sit in the National Coordinating Team. Violence exists every day. However, we acknowledge that a lot of states, including our own Kenyan government, they have not been putting enough support and efforts to protect the majority of us, women and girls. We have seen it also in South Africa, with also the march that was done also like last week for femicide and GBV. It has been put in as a norm, which puts majority of us not feel that we are safe, which we feel even personally are not safe because the state is not serious around tackling gender-based violence compared to governance question on corruption. Yeah.
So I think one of the things that a lot of people who are getting into this space are like trying to understand what the complexities of how gender-based violence has continued to spiral into, and going with the highlight of this year, it's technology facilitated gender-based violence. Could you contextualize what that is and also how it shows up? Because for it to be a highlight, it means it's accelerated and it has become a really, really huge problem. And personally, I think maybe I might understand it from the form of like where you can be online and someone like uses your photo and they send it to a group and then you get targeted. But like, what does technology facilitated gender-based violence mean and how does it show up?
And for me, I feel this topic is important, especially currently. And also like I sit in the capacity of UN Women Advisory Board on technology facilitated gender-based violence, targeting women human rights defenders. This is something I've experienced, not once, not twice, every day. And I think majority of even journalists who have gone through TFGBV. It's just like people we have not, it's like inequality and discrimination. There's a way discrimination has been normalized that if you experience it, you're like, imagine ni kawaida, it's a big deal. It's the same thing with TFGBV, where a lot of people, and let me make it simple, not with big English or anything, where a lot of people, you get abused online, you get targeted online. But even our government and mechanism we have, even around GBV, it does not acknowledge TFGBV as a violence, as a form of violence. People say it's propaganda. People say it's misinformation, disinformation. But you can imagine, even I was watching some of the mainstream media personality, like is it Shiro, when they were also profiling her around the Reta and everything, and I'm like, that's wrong. That's violence. That's that's TFGBV. People like Raburu, even around bodily autonomy and integrity, where people are body shaming you and coming towards how you look and how you appear. That's TFGBV. People taking your information and sharing it without you giving them consent, revenge porn. And I think this is also common with a lot of, even if you're my partner, it does not give you right, even if we separate or be together, you share my photos online. Me sharing with you, because also this is a big issue that people will need to talk about. Me sharing with you is sharing either with you because it's you. So if we separate, we have no right to share or to share with anybody. And this also we are seeing in different WhatsApp groups. People are just sharing people's information or even using AI. I remember when we were attending the Academy for the Human Rights Defenders and experiences of women human rights defenders sharing is that some of the people, especially in the rural community, which is also another intense, someone took a picture of a woman human rights defenders, used AI, they undressed her, and then they took the video and started sharing in different WhatsApp group. Even our own family could not believe it's not her. Yeah. So you can imagine in the level that even our families and our community don't know the difference on how to use AI, and AI now is being used to take advantage of most of us. Yeah. At the same time, we are used to people in this lens of GBV where it's physical, it's emotional, it's economical, but now when it comes to online, you find even when you go to report police, and hiyo tu kidogo. But it's not kidogo, because also it affects your mental health. And even a lot of cases on femicide you have seen started from online, Instagram and stuff. So you find this a conversation that I'm really passionate that also we focus on it, because you can imagine even social media is your own private space. And someone coming to infringe and take away a right from your own space, it also like affects and shrink your civic space of engagement. And it has to be looked also from an intersectionality perspective, because one, private companies are running from accountability. Yes. And most of them are not registered in our countries. They're in the global north. They're not in the global south. Another example is what Safaricom was doing during the protests. The way people also were accusing, allegedly, also KPLC. Like, if someone wants to sue, they can sue them. Because there's no way you can run from accountability as a tech company and then assume you divert like the story versus story. But in Ilhali, we know clearly a lot of people also facilitating TFGBV are private companies. Yeah.
Like the AI companies that do that.
Yes, yes, and they need accountability. As much as you're pushing the government part of accountability, also we need to hold them accountable because it's causing more harm, especially also on children. You can't imagine, but also within the public sphere that there's no way someone wants to use your image in a wrong way or even blackmail you or do things badly, especially to women. I agree also it affects men, but to women is on another intense. And we have seen, for example, if I give an example of a previous TFGBV case that was used towards Mukisa Kitui. From a patriarchal perspective, men were not seeing it as TFGBV. Like, Mukisa iko sawa, but you see it's violence. But if you see, on the other hand, when we were protesting also with end femicide, some of our pictures, including Jeremy Gwez, there were people were coming after her online, and I'm like, this is not right. Yeah.
It's terrifying to live in a society where people can just like use an image of you or like write something very gruesome and target you in a way that's specifically violent, and like there's no consequences almost all the time. And I'd like to invite you to like, have you experienced any kind of TFGBV? And like what measures did you take, or like have you seen the prevalence of this, especially as a journalist? Like, is there something that is very specifically terrifying about working in such a public space and being targeted in this way?
Yeah, it is. It is. I have not personally experienced any form of gender-based violence, but I move around a world where a lot of women exist, and it's actually such a rare thing to find a woman who has not experienced gender-based violence of any kind, either online or when they're walking in the streets, literally. Someone will grope them. But for online specifically, it's something that is not really spoken about. And I say this because I have seen where people bandy together, mostly men, in groups. And even a story that was done recently by Uncensored, it was produced by, I think, Abigail Arunga was involved in voicing it. And in that story, it involves a young queer lady who lived in an informal settlement in Nairobi. And she was lured into a house for a party, quote unquote, and then they were drugged. And the person took intimate images of her without her consent and her friends, and then leaked it online. So she was targeted because of her queerness. And so she had to move to up country, Ilibidi and the Shags, because it was a bit too much. Everywhere you walk, people are saying those things about you. And that's just one person who African Censored told the story of. But even if you look within social media platforms, there are specific groups online that have been normalized to leak intimate images of women without their consent. And it's thought of as punishment. It's somehow something that men can laugh about. But all that aside, most women that you sit with, even if we're supposed to do a poll here with both of you and including myself and everyone in this room who's involved behind the cameras, if you ask them, do you know a woman who was abused, sexually assaulted, or somebody made them uncomfortable online, or they've gone through any sort of abuse through their phone, I guarantee you 10 out of 10 people will say they have. It's either their aunt, it's their partner, it's their friend, but they've heard about it. And I think that's the most worrying part. But you know what's crazier? Most of those people will say that nothing was done to the person who did that to them, despite of it changing their life.
I think one of the things that trips me out, especially about gender-based violence and like how pervasive it is how there's like a dismissal, but also like it exists in the same plane with like the people perpetrating it. Like the people who will attack you will be like, sasata hiyo ni kitu ya kulia kweli. It's almost like they're diminishing the kind of tragedy you're experiencing and the gruesome experience that you're going through. So one of the things that I would like to highlight specifically, we've seen that especially with tech, it's a lot of younger kids who are online. Maybe their parents don't even know the kind of apps they're using, the kinds of ways they can share media. And especially with technologically facilitated gender-based violence, it's not just limited to people of a certain age. There's kids exploiting other children. I'll give an example of a story by a lawyer in South Africa. I'm forgetting her name, but she was talking on one of the podcasts I frequently watch, where she was very kind of astonished with children as young as 9, 8, around that age, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That age group, a lot of kids are, because they're chronically online, they're playing games, they're engaging with people who they don't know. And these people are kind of talking to them and like teaching them and building community with them. But most of the stuff that they end up doing to like their peers, because of the conversations they've had with people who are older than them, is like they can take photos of like their younger classmates or peers, and then they share that. And Mwikali, as someone who works in this space, when it comes to children and this technologically facilitated gender-based violence, like what are the kind of approaches you can do to help young boys, especially with the kinds of communities that they're engaging online and the kind of people who they're looking up to? And also just like allow me to throw in the word the manosphere, like with the build-up of all these different elements, how do you protect young kids in this space from harming their peers? Because it seems like to be an issue that's arising specifically because of the kind of environment they're growing up in. They're growing up in like a very tech-based space. They're mostly online. That's how they make friends. That's how they build community. How do you protect kids, especially young boys, in these particular spaces?
I think it's not only just young boys or young girls or women or men.
Yes.
And I'm surprised, Tom, to say he has not gone through TFGPV. Because if you unpack Tom, I'm sure you have gone through.
I just didn't know.
Technology, like for example, because I follow even some of your posts as African Uncensored, like the incident that happened, I think, to you when you in Madari during the protest.
Yeah.
Have you ever checked those comments? Especially to people who are pro-Gava.
Yeah.
Some were like, apigwa ma journalist as well. True or false?
That's true. Is it?
That's TFGPV.
Oh.
That's technology facilitated gender-based violence. Because also they are encouraging violence. And even for you as an individual, I'm sure it did not sit with you well. Like you're doing this work to amplify what also you're saying from your co-founders about getting dignity and value. But for the Kenyans now, you're being abused and violated, And if I also, before I go that, Justina, there was a research done by FIDA, I was part of the panelists. They said 99.3% of Kenyans have experienced TFGPV.
99.
That's everyone.
Let me take you to simple classic example. M-Pesa, there are people sometimes who call you. Or sometimes you have sent money wrongly to someone.
Yeah.
And you're like, tafadhali, please return my money, I've sent it wrong. And you say tafadhali, and they don't know even what is it used for. Matusi gani unakutananga nazo?
Malaya wewe.
Yeah.
It's almost a contract. Yeah.
It's very sexual.
It's very sexually explicit. It's very demeaning.
But you have sent someone money, and I think this is also a classic example Kenyans can relate.
Yeah.
Ama unaambiwa ni mochari, unapiga aje simu, nini. That TFGPV. It's in rare cases you get someone anakuambia, pole, wacha nirudishe.
Yeah.
And I think Kenyans, we need to be serious with this. It's not only affecting me, it's affecting all of us. And around even the children, I agree, it's happening. You can imagine to the levels it's affecting most of us. What about small children? And also living in a patriarchal system and structure that already affects men and women and women and non-conforming people. So you can imagine if a young boy has been socialized on the, a man, you have to be strong and everything. But the kind of content all of them they are receiving is not a good content. And that's why I feel that one of the things I'm encouraging people, including myself, because reality, even me, when I experience it, we don't report to the police, which we should stop it, so that they're able to see it, even the government, to see it as part of GPV. They we have done with femicide, despite the government disappointment, which we'll talk about it later. We need to push it to the levels public understand it's a violation of human rights and it's a GPV. Because if we don't do that, it's seen like a by the way. So that we're able to come up with the mechanism and say, from a feminist or public or human rights perspective, this is how we feel when there's a TFGPV, it needs to be handled like a criminal, it needs to be a criminal case. Because look, when also CID and DCI are looking for people, they are quick to get them.
Yes.
But in reality, if you tell them, I have a case of TFGPV, they'll be like, but this is story, what on a pigwa, what on a uliwa, what on nini.
More serious problems to do.
You get it? But this one, there are also serious problems because it's a new face term, but it's not a new violation. And that's the thing I'm refusing when governments and stakeholders say, it's new. I'm like, it's not new. It has been in existence. Like my case, even when I went to exile in 2019, just TFGPV. My picture was posted on Nairobi Crime Free as a leader of criminal gang by many killer cops police. That's in 20, I was speaking, and it was called, we were calling it online violence. But now I see it's TFGPV. Yeah. And apart from that, I've had issues, my pictures being used for bad things. Even other activists, their pictures being used for bad narratives, bad work. And then you're like, sometimes and to be sure, it's hard to deal with this issue if it gets you directly. Because it limits even your access, and the way we are saying technology is advancing. When you talk also about shrinking civic space, you cannot engage online now.
Could you clarify how it affects you, like in the work that you do?
Credibility?
Yeah.
Character assassination. Let me give another good example, which all of us were part of. That's government drama, the Ford 16. All of us were Ford 16 during the protest. The government says, oh, you see, there are these organizations that have been paid by donor money to come and cause chaos in the country. That's technology facilitated gender-based violence. That's the president of Kenya catalyzed towards most of us, including you people, myself, our movements, our organizations, that was causing us to be in arm's way also with criminals. In arm's way, being almost abducted by those DCI or CID. And that's TFGPV. One of the things also it makes you feel, apart from mental health, it does character assassination, which is hard also to retain your credibility. The other things, it takes away also your legitimacy. And people can, even some people have lost jobs because of that. People take it for fun, but it's not for fun. Family members, families have broken. People have ended up killing themselves, committing suicide because of this. And if you look, this is something that I'm very keen all of us have to put in effort within the framework of gender-based violence. Because we can avoid, but technology is there. But also the thing I was saying, we need to ensure technology company have a framework of accountability because they're not accountable. I have experience in appointment. Me, I'm very key on also, I support the work around safe abortion. I'm a strong advocate of safe abortion. I'm a strong advocate of LGBTQ rights. But we'll end up, even yesterday, we're talking about CFGB. I experienced CFGBV yesterday in a group in Mathare called Jukwaa la Siasa. A picture of mine was taken also with a rainbow bracelets. And someone had a conversation about a constituency that was a competition between women. And I was like, you know what? Men keep off inciting, targeting these women politicians. They can square it themselves from a feminist perspective. Someone takes that picture and they're like, you see? And people were keen to say, you see, even with our rainbow things, we can't, we are things with LGBT. And I'm like, whether you say it, LGBTQ also have their own rights. And you could see this even as much as also we are heading to election. It seems this is going to be a form of also targeting candidates, and especially the ones who also are very key on Gen Z protests, yeah? And this is something we need to look in terms of also scenario and also pushing so that accountability is clear. Because they'll come and use even, let's say Justina, before you becoming wanting to vie, you used to have your own life enjoying also with bikini and everything. Someone will go and pull it.
Take it, yeah.
And they just
and there's your private life where you posted based on your consent.
Yes.
But someone is pulling it and using it against you. And this is something critical that we can't run away from accountability. I know there's no from a point of view of an individual and also from, let's say, Coalition for Grassroots Human Rights Defender, we are very clear, any form of violence is violence.
Yes.
However, we need to push to ensure mechanisms are put in place. Because even the cyber security that we are not proud of that bill, is not looking on TFGBV. Because their politicians themselves also benefit on TFGBV. We have seen even the politics, the by-election is a good example of TFGBV.
Yeah.
So it means we need to have more this, and I'm happy also you're having it as African Center and having some of us on this discussion, that there's a week also implementation process, structure, even understanding the house, even within the police system, the DCI, even like within even the public, to understand these are form of violence, because we have normalized. Yeah.
I think I would like to bring in Tom here. Mwikali brought out something very specific about even how politicians themselves are targeted. And women politicians specifically, there's a way people talk about them, the way people publish their stories, the way they are degraded. And you can hate a politician for the quality of the work that they're doing, but the targeting usually goes beyond.
It's very
gendered, it's very particular. Tom, I would like you to take this one, because I think working in the journalistic space, like even when you're trying to like properly criticize, like sometimes even people can take your report and kind of run with it and say like, this is what was said here, and then someone can just publish like their own extension of the story, but not with the accuracy, but then now with even violence attached to it now.
Before we get to that, Justine, Rachel, you're very famous here. On Facebook, Odinga Jr. says Viva, Jacinta Agunja says Viva, Laila Kadir says Viva, and Vivian Oyare says Viva, Rachel Mwikali, with like 2 biceps. You know them, like straight strong.
Viva, comrades, Viva.
So to Justine's point, it's just saddening that even the women who are considered powerful in the country, 82% of women parliamentarians reported having experienced some form of psychological violence while serving their terms. This included remarks, gestures, and images of a sexist or humiliating sexual nature, threats, and mobbing. And nearly half of lawmakers reported receiving death, rape, assault, or abduction threats towards them or their families. That's in 2025 in Kenya, and women are going through this. I think the best example is Gloria Roba when she protested sanitary towels. You remember that? And she was chased out of parliament for indecency. And then another parliamentarian, I forget the name, I should do my research on that, but she said that she was she sexually assaulted verbally in parliament, and then she was suspended.
I think Gloria. It was still Gloria.
It was still Gloria?
Yes.
Yeah, and
even there was a WhatsApp group with like published.
Exactly, and she was told that she didn't have enough evidence.
Yes.
And nothing was done.
Exactly.
For specifically that case. And it was lawmakers, men who are expected to keep all the other women outside the parliament safe. That's just, it's confusing to see how those two things can exist at the same time. Power, and just because you're a woman, that power can also be taken away from you. Because you can't imagine a man saying the same thing about another man with that level of indecency,
Yes.
especially male political figures. But I remember a story that was done by one of us, a fact checker here called Nyakerari Omari, and it was about the First Lady. And it was when, just after President Ruto entered office, and the First Lady's pictures were altered to show her in indecent positions, to claim to just completely discredit her, because at that time she was putting this prayerful image, and you can imagine the type of content, because I understand that a lot of people hate or dislike the first family, but it should never go to those lengths where but they got away with it. That's the First Lady. So it makes me imagine what my sister would go through, or what you, Rachel, have gone through, or Justine, and you, Justine, have spoken about it before we switched on the cameras, about the things that you went through, for comments you made online. Rachel, you'd know this better. You've dealt with women who have been violated in the worst ways possible. Nothing has been done. And now if you go to the technological side of things, people who've been violated online, it doesn't seem like something that politicians take into consideration or consider urgent, probably because, as you say, they benefit from it.
Yeah.
I badly want to get into your life, because you work in the informal settlements, and in those places a lot of things happen to women and nothing is done. It doesn't even make the news, which is the saddest part. What gaps exist in dealing with any form of gender-based violence, either technological or physical?
Well, you've had even the way I've said well. I think it's lack of good political will. And that's why let me take it slowly for people to understand it better. When I say lack of political goodwill, when we started the End Femicide example in 2018, during Justice for Sharon, by the way, when we started, Sharon was the symbolic of End Femicide in this country. Because also I feel bad when people also not give the visibility of the work it started longer, only looking from the march that was done last year. And I'm like, when Sharon was murdered, and before she was murdered, there was a lot of women who were being killed in Kenya. Young women, university students, women from informal settlement. Looking even beyond that, a lot of sex workers were being killed by, was it Onyancha? Onyancha,
Yeah, I think that's serial
2000,
killer.
that's
Yeah,
serial
yeah.
killer.
Yes.
But because they were sex workers, we indignified their lives and not acknowledging they are also mothers, they are women, they are people. If you look even during the Mau Mau, was it the Modoni Nyanjiro was shot at Central Police Station when he went to be in solidarity with a comrade. So you find this system of violence has been existent and not taken seriously. And that's why when I say lack of good political will, you can see the work, the feminist movement, the women human rights defenders movement that we've been doing. And the classic example is femicide. What did we get, Tom? After putting all that work, nothing is being done. And some of the people around femicide cases, I can tell you for free, they are duty bearers, perpetrators. We all know. Yeah. Some of you have done investigative stories.
When there's
some are still the CS in this country. Some are still lawmakers in this country. You can imagine how sick this country is at this level of. Some are still heads of this country. And head number one of this country that have been suspect of violence targeting women. Then after this work, we push. We are being told women are going to be given, is it 100 million?
Yeah.
And you have a CS docket, you have interior security, you have ministry that should have taken all these plights we have been talking about violence, and you implement, because we're not short of laws. I'm not saying we need new laws or blah, blah, blah. The only one that we need an amendment is on femicide, because it has been reduced to homicide. Yeah. You get it? And now on TFGB, it needs to be put in across, yeah? But you could see from 100 million conversation, which was like, Enyome to darao. It's not fair. As a woman, I was like, this is an insult. But anyway, we are not giving up, we are pushing. And then we say, at a time like this, we are going to, it's 16 days of activism. We feel stories zingine za jaba dunia tumeambiwa. We want to do a peaceful protest on 10th of December in town across the country. Tom, what did we experience, including myself?
What did you experience?
Gender-based violence, sexual harassment in the streets of Nairobi.
While protesting?
Yes, my pictures, videos are public. I was wearing an African Divine church clothes when they were arresting Irungu. We experienced gender-based violence. I was assaulted by a police officer. Not in the house, by, let's say, a man. In the street of Nairobi, a police officer assaulted most of us sexually. And then we are expected to go to report to a police officer who is also going to defend another police officer who is an abuser. Honestly, and also sometimes we don't get justice.
It's
because the way it's
violence.
designed, the barriers designed for you not to get justice. And you're giving an example of also the video. Let's say umechukua video yangu, niko nude, and then nakwambia polisi yenyewe, ona tu venye picha zangu nikiwa tu which is not shared. Because also it has to be part of the evidence. But you can imagine I'm putting, and then also they are sexualizing you. But at the same time, why should my pictures of also nude ni catalyze kuwa shared? Back to the femicide story. Then the list they did in terms of accountability, not arresting, because they knew who was in duty that day. 10th of December 2024. They never arrested any police officer. What they did, they said they have homeopathy transfer. They have transferred them. So even for me as Rachel Mwikali, who apart from defending other women, I'm also defending myself, and other women that were part of End Femicide were there on the street. We did not experience femicide in the hands of our lovers, our boyfriend, ex-boyfriend, our partner. It's in the hands of police and the government. So you can imagine even more, if you look also within the continent, some of these genocide are catalyzed by our governments. Yeah. The other scenario of Mukuru Kwanjenga, the same. Someone is a suspect of killing women, taken to the bougie police station in this country, one of the bougie police stations in this country in Gigiri, and then they disappear. According to Afro Cinema movie. So if you ask me in terms of accountability and also in terms of what needs to be done, we need good, clear political will. Yeah. If, for example, the government of this country, when they impeach Rigiji within a second, if they really want to deal with femicide within a second, they can do it. We have seen South Africa now, they have declared after many years, femicide and GBV as a national disaster. Do we really want to go there? Because me, I think where we are, we need to prevent. As much as we are responding, we need to prevent. But also if you look on the larger global scale, when you ask also Justina of the global scale, also we have realized with the right-wing governments, most governments moving to the right-wing, they are not putting in resources for GBV. I've gone to countries like Armenia. They also, like you think we are here peke yetu. It's a global crisis. In Mexico, women are getting killed. Wananywa kombaka kwa bridge, like the way huku tunangangana. The same there, as in its worst case scenario. So me, what I usually say, this world does not care about us women, girls, and gender-conforming people. And that's why even for the male allies and men who believe in the cause, we need to push. But also the dynamics comes in terms of prevention work. With all the due respect of he for she. So when you talk about prevention work, now they're taking also the money for gender, giving it to the men.
What do you mean?
Organization.
Oh, okay.
So they are taking the money from the women's rights organization, the ones that are responding. Like to most of us who are doing gender work, GBV, and now taking to say, we need to teach these men to stop being violent. But we know clearly later at home. Men, you listen to fellow men also better. But also mwanaume kijua ni kichwa ngumu, for example, ma kijua wewe ukishikwa wewe ni kiberiti haiwezi kuviolate wengine in most cases. Sometimes this is not like thing. Also, I don't want also the people in the social media content creator and the blogger to use it against me. Unfortunately, even in communities we live in, men understand the language of violence better. Unfortunately, which shouldn't be the case. Nobody should be violent to be heard. Nobody should be violent the way the state is using violence towards us for them to be able to be responsible. Because also if you look in terms of also safe house, we don't have public safe house. Majority are private owned, and that's why I'm scared even when you talk about children. Yes. The ones also who are in safe house, now safe houses are closing because there's no funding.
Yes.
We have seen what has happened to USAID. A lot of money for health, which also supports a lot of GBV, HIV, let today being International World AIDS Day, cases have escalated. And majority of these cases are also rape related. Can please the President of Kenya just be serious? Our ministry be serious on how we are handling GBV cases from a prevention perspective, but also from a femicide perspective. But also looking, some of our countries also, where I said also they are catalyzing. There's this document, and I really want also Uncensored to interrogate, even after this session, and you can invite us later, that is linked also to GBV and femicide, called Geneva Consensus Declaration. Geneva Consensus Declaration. We are working with one of our partners called SACA. This document was brought when Trump was in power, in 2020, during the COVID manenos. Yes. So this document, Kwanzaa, is catalyzing a lot of hate towards even first Africans and towards women. It's a very homophobic document, and a lot of our countries are pushing for it, including our president. And that's why we have seen some politicians, including Akina Jichopev, Moa, even the way some were pushing it towards LGBTQ folks and the protests and everything. That's violence. And the way you say that a duty bearer cannot be in a position, if women politicians are going through, it's worse for most of us who are down there. Because mtu anasema kama MCA na go through this, ni nani wanyambia? Kama Pasaris na go through this. Because also Pasaris, when she was helping us with Justice for Sharon, she got a lot of backlash. Even some of us were called prostitutes. Even there's a better name, ni sex work. Sex worker were respected. Were called prostitutes, husband snatcher, unashindwa kwani ni simu. Home breakers, and I'm like, there's politics, we need to talk about morality and the law. Politics of morality, what is moral to you might not be moral to me. And African families, we are very diverse. And African families also, we are in our own intersectionality, monogamous, polygamous, mistresses and misses, like we are very diverse, child-aided household. So the levels you're reducing this to say we need to put in laws, we're like, we have laws. Implement.
Rachel, I'm curious to know, you've attended a lot of court cases of femicide, women who are murdered by their intimate partners, which is most of the cases, right? The stats are just troubling to even think about. Most women who are killed in Kenya are killed by people they consider family or their husbands or boyfriends. What does the court do to these cases? Because the political goodwill is not there. We've seen that.
Let me give 3 cases. Agnes Tirop, one case, we have seen even part of femicide, and even most of the CSO, we have been pushing for case of Agnes Tirop. She was murdered, and now the court has been frustrating the families. Go back, come back, come back. Another case is for Njambi, Lucy Njambi. She was married to an MCA, and then the MCA murdered her. I remember when also we mobilized ourselves during the ruling, when we went to court. The first time, at least, and also we wanted justice for Njambi. We had to push for us to be inside the court session, to be heard as part of solidarity to the family. The next time we were coming to home, even if you go to the media now, we complained. The court was victimizing us and discriminating us not to enter into court session. So for me, I felt the court also, the judiciary was exposing us to risk. Wewe ni MCA, ujui connection yako nayo huko nje. Ujui familia yako kwaje, because also Yadia is from a good family with money. So the moment also you are showing us we don't care as people who advocate for women's rights and standing solidarity, you're saying, hata sasa hawa not to expose kwa violence. Because me, I tell people, the moment you are strong on GBV cases, you are at risk for everything. Because even your friend might be a potential perpetrator. Your current lover or husband or friend or ex might be a potential perpetrator for these cases of GBV. That's a second case. The third one, which at least we felt, despite frustration and everything, but with the investment and work we did as women human rights defender, that gave us at least of sanity within the belief of public institution, was case for Elizabeth Ikaru. She was a woman human rights defender who was killed in Isiolo. But a lot of investment was done in that case. So you can imagine, why should a public good be a private that government is forcing us now, let's say on judicial, we believe in the rule of the law, but also they're using the rule of the law against us. Another case I remember we dealt with this year was a case of a girl from Kakamega called Grace. She's the way you're saying, she was Form 2, and the boyfriend was in Form 4. And the boyfriend from 4 killed Grace. And Grace was from a mixed school. I want you to see this kind of impact, a mixed school of boys and girls. And the boyfriend was from another school. So, and she was murdered next to their school. In Kakamega, Bunyalo, ndani. What any school, high school children, because also we are seeing now with the university, I think we have seen also like a trend. So you can imagine the level of also want to believe in the rule of the law. Families are also vulnerable. They are made to be walking back and forth, judgment postponed and everything. Akina chosha tom. It's frustrating. Me, I still believe, and that's also like our accountability, even within the judiciary, cases needs to be speeded up. And if you realize, even in one of the cases we did as a protest for femicide, well, like judiciary is failing us. Judiciary is catalyzing us to be killed. Cases are taking more than 6 years, than 7 years, than 8 years, and then it's becoming too expensive for their families. Another case of a survivor of femicide we are following up in a place called Chua in Yatta, Machakos County. It was recommended by a duty bearer to us. Tom, if I tell you the kind of also threats we have experienced, including myself from the DCI and the DCI and police. And imagine from Chua going to the other side of Yatta to report, which is Matu, you spend more than 1,000 and more than 2 hours to report a case that's in Medvailetiwa. The way you will go to Kilimani, say police station or any police station around here, then they spend more than 800 when they report. So Justine, even if we are telling people to report, is the government and the judiciary, the police system, and the different departments of the government really willing to help women? Because we'll be frustrated. Unajuza hii pesa ndakula ama ndalipia kesi. So you find me I still believe beyond the number one or the politicians, the judiciary needs to step up. Even the director of criminal investigation, they need to step up. DCI needs to step up. I feel they're not stepping up. And if there are bodies, even Kenyans, I had Kenyans in terms of public, because I'm a strong believer of public institution, we need to push forward. And that's why even from our end, as part of also the movement, we have gone to the extent, Tom, of forming End Femicide Africa, because we realize transnational problems needs transnational solutions, whereby we can also now take our governments to Hague for accountability around the killing of women, because they're running from that accountability. Yeah.
Okay. That's more radical approach is actually needed for us to go anywhere, especially with GBV in all its forms. And we've seen online GBV translates to actual violence on the ground, like people end up getting targeted and harmed. And you have advocated so strongly for the end of femicide, or at least the frameworks in place to make sure we protect people who've already been affected. Yeah. And there was a task force, I believe, by the Kenyan government to look into femicide. We were talking a little earlier, and you told me you worked on this particular project. So I just wanted to follow up. Where does it stand right now? What were their findings? How did it go? Is the report even out? And what can be done? What does the report say and what can be done? Because najua umekapitia, so we would really like to get a little bit of context on that, because I think I looked it up and I don't think I saw a report out or that information shared. Yeah.
Justina, that's a good one. And I think Kenyans, we need to be serious with this. One is to acknowledge the collective work done by the movements. And femicide in Kenya in particular, the movement I'm part of, including even Pussy Power movement, and other movements that are doing GBV work, prevention, and also response.
Could you mention some?
So I want to break it, because they say sometimes activism, napiga kelele, you don't engage. Before you see us on the barabara, we engage. From January, you saw we started with the protests, and we had a memorandum and a petition that also we want a task force to be formed to be able to look into these femicide cases and government to declare it as a national disaster, and then also to have survivors, because also it needs to have a survivor center approach. To have survivors part of the task force. Little did we know. A task force was brought in. Then I'm not saying I do not acknowledge the work done by the task force members, the individual who also some I respect so much within the sector and in the country. However, they did not put in the people who wanted them to be on the task force. But also we understand the work of task force in Kenya from the 2/3 task force until this one, the stories in Guinea. So we had a conversation as a movement. Do we really engage or disengaged? It was a big heated discussion. And we said, it's hard, but now it's already there. How do we hold it accountable? And I acknowledge also some of the duty bearers who have worked with us. People like Crystal Asige walked through with us. People like Kathy Muma, and even Honorable Kavindu from Machakos County. It's good also to acknowledge some of the duty bearers also who are like, tuko na nyinyi, nawaita wanakuja, wanatusaidia. And when it was formed now, they had a national hearing, which myself, editor, Felisa Abdallah, Defenders Coalition, like the team were part of people who were engaged in the national. And also I think how they did it strategically, even the program had our names from the national level. We mobilized ourselves. I think they were shocked because they expected to see one of us to engage water, to put our issues. Then we asked them, we want to engage from the county level. Also we have county coordinators for the end femicide. So how do we go about it? I feel the task force maybe had its own goodwill, but the management, even on the process, Tom, when you asked me about the processes, and even if I feel government were willing, I don't think the government of Kenya was willing to deal with this issue. It was from now my engagement and analysis. So we ensure like county government were involved. But do you know even within engaging the county was a challenge? To be public participation. Kama uko invited na nani? Kama uko invited, imagine wingi. So we have to use our networks and our community to push in to be involved. Like public participation is another thing. And that's why even for us, we're waiting that reports to see if they are giving the things we want. If not, also we go to the legal way, because also some of our members within the counties were threatened. Yeah. And even we reached out to the task force and told them, there's no way you want us to engage. And then we are mobilizing communities and ourselves, and then our people are being abused in the same by the police, yeah? So we participated zote. So we did not. We participated from national to grassroots to national. Yeah. However, almost 1 year down the line, we're still waiting for the report. Grapevine has it was finished, it was done, and handed over to Deputy President and the President. So my question is, hata kama tu walikuwa na tu wenyewe wanataka kutudanganya, mbona wange launch say 16 days of activism? Yeah. It means they don't care. Sure. And my bit of skeptical with the current Kenya Kwanza government, I'm afraid they don't use this report as a bait for political mileage to go back into power. Wamama si tumekuwa mnasema FMC dime increase, sasa si ndio hii tunadeal nayo ndio hii report tumeaccept. You're getting it. Yeah. So as women, I would encourage that we don't be used as a bait. And one of the things we are planning to do and to continue doing as a movement in terms of our scenario, no ending femicide, no election. You're not voting. Or hakuna kuvote Kenya. Because also we are the majority. And it was cutting across hizo intersectionalities zote tunaongelea, whether TFGBV, watoto, vijana, wamama, wazee, because also there is a constituency of women who are being killed, wananyang'anywa mashamba, wakidanganyishwa ati ni witch. Almost kwa witch si mbaya, unanipata? Si mbaya, but sasa sioni kwa nini uwe mtu, like there are cases also we had children killing their mothers because they want land from their mothers. We see cases of also relative killing women to get land. In the rural is another dynamics compared to the rural community, to the urban community. In the urban community also some excess also apart from, and I know like the report we have is the statistics from Uncensored or Deported. So it can show you even from a data perspective, the government is not willing. However, the movement is still moving and organizing. Like we are doing still even exchange with other countries and seeing on how they have handled it. And whatever had happened to South Africa, the bet we were being played here, Tom, is the bet was played in South Africa. So we realize these governments are talking to each other. So even as we can't keep quiet, we need to talk to each other and strategize collectively to push our governments, to push our institutions, to ensure that they take this matter very, very serious because it affects majority of us. So and maybe ikomali napata vumbi your report, but we need to do more amplification, more noise. It does not mean because government is on acknowledge kuna femicide it has stopped. It's still increasing. And now we are heading to December. You never know what might happen. And also we have seen even during the protests, a lot of women also they were targeted and raped and abused during the protests, and some getting killed. So we never know. As we prepare for the election, I feel, and that's what we are seeing in Tanzania. That's also another femicide, where the Mama Sulu is killing also people. What we are seeing also manifesting in Uganda. So we don't know Kenya what will happen. As some of us are saying, semifinals is it in Uganda and finally in Kenya. So we have to ensure that it's not only a Kenyan issue, it's a global issue. It's also a country, but also we are voters. And if we are voters, also GBV affects economics. I'm not an economics person, but I know it affects economics. The money we're also using in responding, it can be used also in taking care of other things, but at the same time, putting a survivor center perspective. Because I remember also there was a document before Uhuru left in power on the Generational Equality Forum. Kenya had committed very good commitments on ending GBV, including having a feminist leadership, feminist respond, but also now the confusion that I think also we need to unpack is between also these two departments. As much as they are good for us,
they're disconnected.
They're disconnected. The one for the women's advisor to president and the State Department on Gender. First, I feel more money should go to State Department of Gender, but at the same time, the women advisor, Harriet, should also do more in ensuring that also the cases, because also when we were doing the femicide, the public hearing, she was there in the list. I think Mimi Dwakineta and the rest. She should also, we need to hear her voice. What is she advising the president? And also institution like NGEK also needs to be very vocal. Hata sijui mnajua kuna NGEK hii country. Mnajua kuna NGEK?
Could you
National Gender Equality, National Gender Equality Commission.
Yes.
No,
I knew there's a gender equality commission.
Imagine kama unaweza ujitome.
just learning about it.
Wamejificha tu. Most of us we know Kenya National Human Rights Commission. We know IPOA. Mambo ya pia corruption, we know integrity, EACC, and then because of hate speech, we know your NCIC.
Yes, NCIC.
I think Kenyans, we pay taxpayer money. We need to make NGEK busy.
Needs to work.
They are failing all of us as Kenyans. There can be a commission that also it's constitutionally mandated on this issue, and they are quiet. We need to make them busy. Hata next year maandamano tunapangia proper. I think the commission imefanya kazi ni hiyo ya Kenya National Human Rights Commission. Like, to be honest, they have really done a lot of work. And we have seen even on femicide, they have, on GBV, they have been very vocal. But also we think also it's having people who are also good, like Kamanda Musheke, who is also a comrade, who are very vocal in pushing this accountability question.
And also getting budget cuts, by the way.
Yes, because they speak truth to power.
Yes. I think just so we can wrap up this conversation, I think one of the things that is standing out to me is like strengthening public institutions and holding them to account. But also, I want to hear from both of you. If we're going to tackle gender-based violence in all its form, technologically facilitated, to what we've seen with femicide cases increasing, to just GBV, even like with kids and all these different phases and spaces being completely unsafe for women and girls, how do we what are the kind of like practical everyday solutions for people who do want public institutions to work, do want all these things to change, but like what are the day-to-days, what are the me to you, like me to Tom, me to Mwikali, like how can we make sure that we have kind of, as we advocate for larger, like we organize also among ourselves, how do we hold each other to account? I would like to know from both of you how that would show up, because also I think that really helps with the day-to-day conversations, especially with people who are dismissive of the kind of violence we're seeing and the kind of compounding and like snowballing it ends up being. Like, how do we show up day to day? What can really help us? Tom first, and then
If I'm honest, I can't do justice to that question. So Rachel, please.
No, you can do it. So
you can. We believe in you.
But really, Rachel, you'd answer it best. I think for me, I'd speak to my role as a journalist and also as a person who has relatives and exists with women like you, Justine, right now. First of all, it's for all the men out there, just stop participating in online. I know it's funny to some of you. It's horrible to women out there if you clown them for how they look. So don't do that. That's like step one. That's ground level understanding of what not to do. But for me, it would also be in the kind of work that I do. Do I speak about these things? For instance, are we having this show right now and are we speaking about the truth? Are we missing some things, or are we trying to cover everything? I think away from me as a person, Tom, and the people around me and my behavior online, it's the kind of work that I do, and how does the work that journalists do every day help people like Rachel tell their stories, and for them to tell the stories of other people who stand on their shoulders. So that will be my contribution every day in this. I know it shadows in comparison to what Rachel does.
Good work.
But it's good work still, right? I think both of you would give a better answer to this question, but you, Rachel, mostly.
I think one, socialization. How we socialize kids in school, in churches, because we know even the curriculum is problematic in Kenya. Like an example, when most of us were in primary, was it Mary, Auntie Mary or Uncle Mary or whatever? Though even it was defining family, like who is the head, But even the way the curriculum is, it's also a bit problematic. let's have progressive religious leader. And we have seen it with Gen Z when they're not quiet. The people power made them to start speaking. If you can have also church leaders who are progressive on this, akiwache kuambia mama wavumilie ni shetani.
Yes.
Jumi sijaiona nikishikwa for example mbaba ataambiwa. Imagine vumilia bibi yako ni shetani. Ni shetani amemkujia tutaambia shetani itoke.
Yeah.
So religious leaders, they need to stop it.
Yes.
They need to stop that telling women vumilia itakuwa mzuri, don't run, because a lot of women are being killed because of that.
Yes.
Wanaambia niliambiwa na pastor wangu niliombewa atatulia atabadilika dadada. When you see the red flag, seek help and support. Yeah. I think also public spaces, they need also to do better. I'm happy about King Lion sounds, the reggae team.
Yeah.
They have been very instrumental. From a partnership perspective, and them, Makina Papa Charlie and the rest. The spaces they give us to talk about our issues, and but you understand the reggae space the way it is, the platform, they're also themselves to talk, to talk with others, and I'm Machalim, speaking madam, Nibayam or report even but to be honest, shout out to King Lion Sound, talking about Pachale, Natabs, Stitches, water. And then male allies like yourself, Tom, and the rest, please men start calling out oppressive men. Hold them into accountable. Kuna wengine sasa wanakonga huko X wenye mnalio tufukuza huko. Huko X, so you know X is very worse than any place, yeah? In terms of how violent, like if you want to go to stronghold the TFGBV, X.
I actually think TikTok is a lot worse, which is worrying.
Yes, I'm coming also to, but I'm saying
level.
Yes, but X, you can imagine where people are also supposed to have serious conversations. But some of the things you can get into anakuambia huko na stuka huko. Content creator, you know, Justina, also you're within the content creator. Please talk to fellow content creators. See, funny sometimes when also people make content that are catalyzing violence. Like I saw another one, Jana. I'm like, we need to understand if also you want to be in the content creating space, do content creating that's supporting social justice and human rights. Artists, musicians, like kuna ngoma zingine unasikianga unasema we hata za mimi tunazi dancing lakini very misogynistic patriarchal inakatalize hata watu wasanga mapanga hizo kwanza hizo za mapanga yani they are also problematic even within my own culture of Kama community where I'm fighting with a lot of artists. Their songs are very bad. Encouraging a lot of, not all, but majority, and I know in many cultures the same, but also for vernacular music producer, they need to look into that, on how to produce music that are better, because these are the daily life they too. Football clubs, we know what happens also in football clubs. These are very powerful space. I can tell you they can change a lot. Najua. Nishakuwa na complain na footballer najua, ama footballer. So they can change a lot of things. We have seen the Gor Mahia space is very big. FC, community, football, they can make a lot of change. Even using them as influencer, it can help a lot within the country and set up. And I think also acknowledging the progressive innovations that we don't have to look GBV from a level ya kizungu mingi. Watu wafanye tu kitu wanataka. Kama ni hospitali pia, ama public institution, people to understand. Seti ukikuja hapo unasomewa, mtu amechapo unamsomea, ama anything, just basic. Cutting across, usiambie pia mbaba, wewe umepigwa aje na mama. Mama umepigwa aje na huyo mbaba, mama you're talking too much. Because also there's another form of GBV that you're seeing even if you're a woman who can speak for yourself, hata middle class wanapigwa, wanaficha na makeup, which is not fair. But pia unaonekana mtu anataka kwenda kazi. So this is a collective struggle that all of us have to work together. But also there's need of also more investment for people who defend other women. Because also us, we are targeted. Some of us have gone to save someone and unapigwa. We had a case even within my community. A guy went to help a neighbor who was being beaten by the husband and then he was stabbed and he died. So even support for first responder, how does it look like? Even for police on how responding, it has to have a feminist lens.
Those are absolutely more practical examples. As long as you have influence and you can take the opportunity, make sure you stand up for the right thing as much as possible. Protect each other because community is all we have. So lastly, Tom, you have a public participation we should look into this week.
Well, before we get into that, there was a comment here. by Odinga Jr. He says, hakuna political goodwill to fight gender-based violence in our society. Ukiangalia poa, the perpetrators of GBV kwa jamii run away from being charged because they're members of political jeshi or gangs. They use their status to compromise investigations by using police officers to interfere with evidence, payment of reporting forms, by using doctors to write false reports, by using courts to favor victims, prolong cases in court to frustrate victims, what you were speaking about, Rachel. Even local governments sit down with victims to settle the matter chini empty. Kangaroo courts.
It happens a lot even in the Somali community. Hanifa speaks about this all the time.
Absolutely. Finally, our legislators on Alala, they need to push for serious formation and enactment of laws against GBV. Let's say no to any kind of GBV at all costs with one voice. Asante, Odinga Jr.
And Tom, the other thing, now that they have introduced goons,
yes, it's a different level.
It's a different level because now it's going to be worse.
Yeah.
For women even to participate on electoral
Politics,
processes, in governance processes, because goons, they're not held accountable most of the time. Wanachiliango wanaenda. And you saw even what Sonko happened to Sonko's daughter, which I'm really sorry, but you can imagine, wakati pia alikuwa in power as a governor, he could have done even much more to prevent. Angechata Nairobi County in a safe house, you see. But you don't have to wait. Mwambia mtu, usirepiwa ama usipigwe ndo take action. When you're in a leadership position, do what you need to do the rightful way to ensure that ikikuwa penia, you have the support. The same way, jenga hospitali ndo usiende India. Kikikumania unaenda hapo next.
Truly.
Good points, Rachel. For public participation this week, we have the Draft National Automotive Bill 2025. This bill, it's a lengthy 60-plus page document, but it's important that you read it, especially if you're involved in the automotive industry, if you're someone who's going to create the next ROM, or someone who's going to create the next assembly industry for maybe electric motorbike or electric vehicle, whatever it is. But this bill, deadline for submission of your opinions is December 19th, 2025. There will be a round of public participation across most counties in the country. You can visit Mzalendo for more details on this. But from what I've read about this bill, Justine, is it once again consolidates power to executive appointed officials. That's a red flag to me whenever that happens, that a presidential appointed or minister appointed.
That's the one who holds all the power instead of the industry leaders.
Exactly. Council or committee can decide who enters the market or who leaves or who gets suspended. That's worrying to me. But for in-depth analysis, go and look at it, especially if it concerns you. Secondly and lastly, the appointment of the Commission Secretary or Chief Executive Officer, CEO of the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, a gentleman called Ali Saro, who was the assistant, or is currently the assistant registrar in charge of regulation, compliance, and capacity at the Office of Political Parties, Office of the Director of Political Parties in the country. A very political office as well, but now he's going to an even more political office, the SRC. This is the commission,
and
Rachel,
remunerations commission.
yes, that decides how much MPs get in allowances and salaries. So it's a very political office because if whoever occupies these offices is easily compromised, sometimes these officers are the people standing between a salary increase for MPs and a denial of that increase. But as you know, the trend is always MPs will always want more allowances and salaries. Again, I can't speak on the gentleman's reputation, but you can submit, again, your opinions to the clerk of the National Assembly. Visit the Nzalendo website, and shout out to them for always keeping us updated on legislations. That's it for public participation this week, Justine.
Okay, so I hope people make sure to look out for those particular public participation spaces and send in your contributions. So lastly, from me is Kenya's wealth inequality has skyrocketed. Apparently, 125 people in this country hold more wealth than 42 million Kenyans. Hey, poverty imetutandika. It's like we're technically all poor, but they say hard work pays, but apparently only 125 people have been able to get paid from it. And this wealth inequality also affects education and healthcare. So if you have less money, you end up affording less services. That's why healthcare at the moment is like a joint business venture between SHA and Mchanga. So private health providers end up benefiting more because they're the ones who are kind of providing the care, and public institutions are dilapidated, they're not catering to anyone. So trust ni condom tu huko. So you can't actually trust the institution to come through for you. 85% of the Kenyan workforce is informal, which means people live on daily wages and like the hope of getting paid. And the earnings are anywhere between zero and the coming of our Lord. You don't know if you're going to get any kind of payment. We do have state welfare that helps people. We have Inua Jamii, but Inua Jamii only gives people 2,000 Kenyan shillings a month. I don't know if that is supposed to pay for the fare of you collecting that 2,000, or I don't know what 2,000 is supposed to help you in a full month, considering that's just a day's work for a goon. Like if you're really committed to the goonship.
The rate card who's
yeah, like your rate card as a goon could earn you 2,000 shillings, and you can see why we don't have state welfare. It's putting people in terrible positions. And this government is not investing in Kenyans. A lot of money is being misused, misappropriated, and it's widening that inequality. There's 7 million people more living under 130 shillings a day. That is very little money. And we have an illusion about the middle class where you could be safe and you have a job, and then when they pull the carpet from under you, you are without a job and all these expenses. So the number of people living in extreme poverty has increased by 7 million from 2015, and the situation is just getting worse. So from me, I think we have to restructure the economy and the welfare of this country if we want to literally end inequality, or at least change what it looks like. So if even the informal sector, a lot of people work for free, and most of them are women. And most of them, again, are targeted and end up in situations where they're trying to make money, and that makes them very, very vulnerable to abuse and harm and gender-based violence. So ending inequality is literally a pathway to ending gender-based violence. And I really hope the people in charge of these institutions come up and we stop supporting the theftonomics we have built in this country and we build a country that actually helps grow wealth for all of us, not just 125 people. So that's it from me. Yeah. So let's go out there and grow class consciousness and fight wealth inequality. I want to thank Mwikali so much for joining us. A round of applause to you for the work that you do again.
Thank you. Invite us again and again.
Absolutely. Tutakuwekea permanent seat. Yeah. And from my co-host, Tamu, utaki kuambia watu bye?
Ilikuwa ni kunywa maji, but now that you say that, now that you say that, yeah, bye everyone. Thank you for watching.
Thank you for watching. I'm Justine Wanda. See you guys next time.